So you want to start a business in 2023, or maybe you already have a business now that you want to grow or blow up in 2023. Either way, you're in the right place. I actually wanted to make today's video like a fun little sit down, hang out, chit chat kind of thing. But then the cat threw up on the couch, so we can't sit on the couch. So we're still in our chair. We'll move around a little bit throughout this video, but I thought that we could just hang out and chat about tips and techniques that we can use to grow our business in 2023. A couple weeks ago, I posted this TikTok right here where I was mentioning, 3 things I wish I knew before I started my business. And the feedback that I got on that video was pretty good. So I thought that what I would do is I would kind of reiterate some of the same points from that video, but then also add in a few other tips and tricks that you're gonna need to know if you're looking to build your business in 2023. I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for almost 4.5 years now, so I'd like to think that there's a few things that I've learned in that time and some wisdom that I would love to share with you for you in your journey. Okay, so one thing that I wish I knew before I started my business that I feel like is really obvious in retrospect, and I probably really honestly knew it before I started my business, but I wasn't really paying attention, is this idea that there are always going to be naysayers. And I feel like this is a lesson we learn not only in business, but in life in general, that anytime we're doing anything, whether it's something good, something bad, something confusing that doesn't make sense to people, something that everyone else is also doing, there's always going to be someone out there that has something to say about it, that's going to try and tell you that it's a bad idea, or you shouldn't do that, or you can't do that, or you're never going to be successful if you try that. And I think that that can be really, really challenging when we are just starting our business, because we feel like they're right, especially in the infancy of our business, because there's so much uncertainty. We're trying to build this thing essentially from nothing, and maybe you don't have any clients yet. Maybe you haven't made any sales yet. You haven't quite proven that the business idea or business model that you're trying to create is a viable option. When you have someone in the back of your head telling you it's a bad idea, you shouldn't be doing that, it can be really easy to kind of fall into this trap of, you know what, they're right, maybe I should just toss in the towel and call it a day. And so what I encourage you to remember as you begin on this journey with entrepreneurship, or again, maybe you've already started and you're feeling a little bit discouraged or you're not quite seeing the growth that you want, is to really just remember, and this is a bit of a cliche phrase, but I've heard it time and time again, and it's always really stuck with me, and it's this idea that we're never going to be criticized by someone that's doing better than us. And so if there are people in your life who are negatively commenting on the things that you're doing or telling you that your idea isn't going to work, well, yes, there is an opportunity to take constructive feedback from people from us. Generally speaking, a lot of the times that's coming from someone who is either envious of your decision to go ahead and start your own business, or from someone who simply just doesn't see it as a viable option, but their opinion ultimately at the end of the day isn't going to be the thing that leads to your success or results in you not being successful. They're simply just projecting their own insecurities and their own circumstances onto yours. And so I think that that's a really important message to remember. And that was one of the pieces that I got the most feedback when I talked about that TikTok video at the beginning, was people saying that they just needed that reminder that there's always going to be naysayers, no matter if we're doing good or we're doing bad. And so it's important to kind of block out some of that noise and really just stay focused on what it is we're trying to create, why we're trying to create it, and trust that we are on the right path that is meant for us and for our own journeys. Okay, this next piece of advice is particularly important if you are someone, maybe you've had your business for a while, but even if you're new, it's going to apply to you. And it's really this idea to remind ourselves to stop rejecting ourselves. And I see this time and time again, and personally, I am also guilty of this in the many iterations of my business. It's this idea of, wanting to reach out to other businesses to collaborate. Maybe we want to reach out to someone to ask if we can be interviewed on their podcast. Maybe there's simply just an opportunity out there that we're interested in, but we tell ourselves that, maybe our business is too small, our follower account isn't big enough, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We don't have enough experience. We convince ourselves that whoever this other person is on the other end is going to reject us. And so we don't even bother asking because we're certain that they're going to say no. Have you been in this situation before? Because I absolutely have. And my advice for you going into 2023 is to make it your year of yes. And this means that you are going to stop rejecting yourself before other people have the chance to. I encourage you to make a list of different businesses you want to collaborate with. Make a list of potential clients that you would love to work with. Make a list of different podcasts you'd love to be featured on. And then formulate a plan to reach out to those peoples, those businesses, those entities, and ask. The worst thing someone is going to tell you is no. And this is something I've really had to learn over the course of the past 4.5 years, is that while yes, hearing the words no can be a little bit hurtful in the moment, the more and more we start to handle those rejections, the more we realize it's not personal, it's not about us. And every no is really just getting us one step closer to that next yes. And the thing about yes is that you never know where that opportunity is going to take you. In the course of the past 4.5 years, I have had many opportunities to be interviewed on a bunch of different podcasts. And often what happens is I get interviewed on one podcast. That leads to a LinkedIn message that I receive from someone who listens to that podcast. They refer me to someone else that they know. And next thing you know, I have a new client. I have a new interview lined up, whatever that may be. But it starts with you being willing to put yourself out there and ask the question. Once you hear no once or twice or 3 times, it becomes a lot easier. And so if we can start to live in this state of almost delusion where we think we're worthy of literally anything we want, and we start asking for what it is we want, you're going to see a lot more opportunities start to present themselves and start to come your way. And that's going to be the real key in helping you to grow your business in 2023. And so if your overall goal is to get more clients, gain exposure, grow your business, you need to stop staying small, and you need to start putting yourself out there and be willing to get rejected. And if you're looking for tips and advice on how to pitch yourself to podcasts or how to do anything like that, you can always drop it in the comments down below, and I would be happy to share some of my templates with you. Okay, my next piece of advice for anyone thinking of starting a business in 2023 is to understand that the journey of entrepreneurship can be isolating as And what I mean by that is back in 2018, when I decided to leave my 9-to-5 job, I think I really underestimated the value that can be found in having coworkers and people that you are working in the same environment with, who you can vent to about things and who you can complain to about things and who you can reach out to and ask for feedback when you're working on something that just isn't making sense, or you aren't really sure if your idea is any good, or you just don't know where to go. Maybe you're feeling stuck and you just need that feedback to really move you to the next step. And so once you become an entrepreneur, especially a small business owner, you're sort of on this one-man show journey. And so it can be really lonely sometimes when you are in those periods where you're trying things and they aren't working, or you feel like you've been working really hard at this thing and it's not quite yielding the results you wanted, or maybe you just have so much work to do and you're feeling really overwhelmed and really busy. It can be hard to not have that person or those people that you can reach out to and ask for that feedback on, or ask for that support when you need it. And so I guess the two-sided piece of advice that I want to give you here is that while yes, you should prepare yourself to sometimes feel lonely and to sometimes feel isolated, I also encourage you to make an effort to go out and connect with other people. So I know that in my time moving across the country, I really made an effort once I relocated to Vancouver, BC, to reach out and connect with other creators in the area and other people who were doing this entrepreneurship thing, just to be able to start to build that community of people that I could connect with and that I could ask questions to, so that when I find myself in a position in my business where I've built this thing and it didn't work, or I've been thinking about trying this new direction, I can reach out to those individuals and ask them their thoughts and their feedback. And that's really been invaluable for me since moving here, to be able to have those people that I can connect with. And so if you are someone who's new to entrepreneurship and you are feeling a little bit nervous about the isolation, about the loneliness, I really encourage you to simply just hop on Google and search networking events in my area. Most major cities and even smaller cities have different opportunities for you to be able to connect with other creatives, other entrepreneurs, other people that are in whatever industry you're in, and have that opportunity to foster some of those connections, build those relationships, and find those people that you can connect with when you really need them. Okay, my next and last piece of advice kind of has two parts to it, but it's really one of the pieces that I've always tried to remind myself as being some of the most important stuff as you enter your entrepreneurial journey. And it's understanding that it's okay for you to pivot in your business and it's okay for you to change your mind at any point. So I always like to say that becoming an entrepreneur, it's almost like this series of educated guesses. So we come up with a business idea, we put it out there, maybe it takes off, maybe it doesn't. If it doesn't take off, we come back to the drawing board and we think about, okay, what didn't work this time? What can I tweak? What can I change? And then maybe we relaunch the offer and it looks a little bit different, and so on and so on and so on. So it's sort of this process of iteration and just trying different things. I actually did a full video about this right here if you missed it, all about my failed launch. So I had built this online course, I went to launch it, and I sold one. And I was really disappointed at first, but it was a really great learning opportunity for me to kind of take that time and reflect on what worked, what didn't work, what I would change if I was going to do it again in future. And so when it comes to you and it comes to your business, I think it's really important that just because you've chosen maybe a niche or an avenue or a style of business that you're going to launch right now, it doesn't mean that you're stuck in that idea forever. So when I started my first business back in 2018, I started a yoga studio. And that was it. That was the thing. I was so passionate about it and I was so excited. And, you know, I built that yoga studio from being a fully mobile service into a physical location, into a TV show. I had my own TV show for 3 seasons and it was this great, amazing thing. But I reached this point where eventually it just wasn't really bringing me joy anymore. And so I had to sort of come to terms with the idea that eventually it was time for me to let that business go and kind of lead into the next phase of my own journey. And so as people and as entrepreneurs, I think it's important to allow ourselves that time to change, just like in our personal lives when we outgrow friendships or we outgrow certain careers or we outgrow certain relationships. The same can happen in business. Just because something was fun and exciting and it brought us so much joy at one point doesn't mean we have to stay in that lane forever. And this is a conversation I often have with clients of mine where they come to me and they say, you know, Danielle, I'm offering service X, Y, and Z, and I just don't enjoy it anymore. I really want to shift more into ABC. And I always encourage them to experiment, to try it out. You know, if you're interested in something, give it a try. And the worst case scenario is it's not going to stick or it's not going to land with the audience you intended. And so it doesn't mean you have to throw that idea away, but you can always change it and tweak it into something that is going to lead to more success down the road. But I think often what happens, just again, like we find ourselves staying in cities we don't want to be in or in relationships that don't suit us anymore. We tend to think that because we made a particular decision in our business that we have to stay there forever. But you're human and you're allowed to change your mind. So if you needed to hear it, consider this your permission that it's okay to go back to the drawing board if something isn't what you want it to be anymore and you want to try something else. You're totally allowed to change your mind, to change your business, and to start all over if you have to. There are literally no rules when it comes to starting and building your own business, and so you get to decide what that's going to look like for you, for your business, and for your life. I know this content was a little bit different than the usual stuff, but I hope that this serves as a valuable reminder as we move into the new year that if you want to start your own business in 2023, that is something that is fully available to you. And these are just some helpful things to keep in mind as you begin that journey. Be sure to check out my other content on the channel. I have a few videos listed down below that I think you might be into. And if you like this style of content, be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments down below. If you're new here, welcome and thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. If you're not new here, thanks for coming back. Be sure to give this video a like. And you can follow me over on Instagram and TikTok where I post small business tips every day of the week. That's going to be it for this time. I will see you in my next video.